Making new friends after 60 can feel like a tough mission. Life slows down, the conversations seem to have all been had, and many familiar faces are no longer around, whether due to distance, time, or final goodbyes. It's only natural to wonder, is it still possible to form true, meaningful connections? The answer is yes. Not only is it possible, it can be one of the most rewarding experiences of this stage of life. Over the years, we gather experiences, lessons, and scars that make us wiser and more human. But they also often make us more cautious. The spontaneity of youthful connections gives way to routines, comfort zones, and even fear of seeming intrusive or out of place. But the desire for connection remains. And no matter how many birthdays have passed, we all still need to be heard, to share a laugh, and to feel that someone truly cares. This video is an invitation to look again at your ability to connect, to rediscover that building real bonds has no age limit, and above all, to realize that it's never too late to truly belong. In the next few minutes, we'll explore why this journey can be challenging, but also deeply meaningful, and how, with simple and intentional steps, it's possible to turn encounters into genuine friendships, even and especially after 60. Why is it so hard to make friends after 60? If friendship is such a deeply valued part of life, why does it become more rare as the years go by? The answer lies in the quiet transformations that time brings. Throughout adulthood, our relationships are often tied to specific social settings: the workplace, our children's schools, the neighborhood we live in. These spaces serve as natural bridges between people. But with retirement, an empty nest, or even a change of address, those bridges start to disappear, and they're not always replaced. On top of that, many people experience significant losses: the death of friends or a spouse, estrangement from family members, or a decline in social interactions. And even those who are surrounded by people may feel a more subtle kind of loneliness, the feeling of not being truly connected to anyone. Another important factor is the often unconscious belief that people who already have friends aren't looking for more. This creates the sense that social circles are closed off, and trying to enter them can feel like an intrusion. Add to that the fear of rejection, the feeling of being out of sync with younger generations, and even self-doubt. Would anyone even be interested in my story? There's also a cultural issue that rarely gets addressed. Aging is still commonly associated with isolation, and that belief shapes behavior. Many people accept the idea that, as we get older, it's natural to retreat inward, as if seeking new friendships were a sign of neediness instead of vitality. Understanding these obstacles is the first step to overcoming them. When we put our feelings into words and recognize that many of these barriers are learned, not unchangeable facts, we begin to make room for new possibilities. Because what once felt like an ending can actually be a new beginning, more intentional, more mature, and most of all, more authentic. The power of friendship in later life. If the absence of connection can make us feel unwell on the inside, the presence of true friendship has the power to transform us, inside and out. In later life, friendship becomes much more than just a source of fun. It often becomes a pillar of emotional health, a support system, and a genuine source of meaning. Studies show that people who maintain active social ties after 60 are at lower risk of depression, experience less chronic pain, preserve memory better, and live longer. That's no coincidence. It's emotional biology working in our favor. Laughing with someone, feeling heard, sharing small joys, or even worries, all of this helps regulate stress, improves sleep, and protects us from the emptiness that often comes with loneliness. Friendship activates areas of the brain related to reward, belonging, and even creativity. And the more mature the stage of life, the more intentional we can be about the kinds of bonds we want to nurture. In youth, many friendships are born out of urgency, excitement, or a need for approval. In maturity, Friendships can be born out of choice, out of shared life stories, common values, or simply the comfort of being with someone with whom you can be your true self. No masks required. And maybe that's one of the greatest gifts of friendship after 60. It tends to be more honest, less competitive, and more generous. It's a friendship that doesn't need to prove anything or rely on appearances. It blooms where there is real listening, mutual respect, and genuine presence. Yes, making new friends can feel risky, but the emotional, physical, and even spiritual benefits are too profound to be ignored. The truth is, no matter how much life has changed, the desire for connection is still there. And the good news is that desire can be the first step toward creating something new. With an open heart and attentive eyes, it's possible to see that life still holds many meaningful encounters waiting to happen. And yet, even when we understand how important friendship is, something still holds us back. In the next chapter, we'll explore the invisible barriers that make reconnection difficult and how we can soften them with kindness. Invisible barriers that keep you from connecting. Even when the heart longs for new friendships, something inside us often hesitates. These are silent barriers, hard to name, yet very present. And they often sabotage the chance to start over before the first conversation even begins. One of the most common is the fear of rejection. It hides behind thoughts like, they'll think I'm intruding, no one will be interested in me, or I don't want to seem needy. These thoughts show up as forms of self-protection, but in the end, they only push us away from the very thing we need most, human connection. Another subtle barrier is the shame of starting from scratch. After decades of having more defined social circles, it can feel strange, even humiliating, to have to look for friends. Society places a high value on autonomy and self-sufficiency, which can make the desire for connection feel, wrongly, like a weakness. But missing companionship isn't a flaw, it's a sign of being human. There are also the limiting beliefs that build up over time. Many people believe they're too old to form new bonds, or that only young people can create light, easy friendships. But the truth is, maturity brings a kind of presence and depth that can make relationships even richer if we have the courage to begin. Another big obstacle is the fear of not being interesting. That nagging feeling that your story no longer matters, or that it's been too long since you had a casual, lighthearted chat. But in reality, it's the depth of lived experience that makes conversations more meaningful. We all have something to offer, even if it's just a warm smile or a listening ear. Finally, there's the habit of isolation. Sometimes solitude becomes so familiar that it stops feeling uncomfortable. We become experts at filling time alone, avoiding gatherings, canceling invitations. We protect ourselves, but we also close ourselves off. Recognizing these barriers isn't a reason for guilt, it's a moment of clarity. When we understand what's holding us back, we gain a real opportunity to choose differently. And that's exactly what we'll explore next. How and where to take the first steps toward building new connections with lightness, authenticity, and a fresh perspective on the possibilities around us. Where and how to find new friendships. After 60. Now that we've explored the internal challenges, it's time to look outward. After all, where are the people with whom you can build new connections? The good news is, there are more opportunities than you might think. You just need to shift your perspective and gradually make space in your routine for meaningful encounters. One of the richest paths is through community groups and shared activities. Organized walks, ballroom dance classes, yoga sessions, choirs, book clubs, or craft circles. These are all spaces where people with similar interests come together, making spontaneous conversation easier. Repetition helps too. Seeing the same faces every week builds familiarity, and from that, friendships can grow. Another valuable option is senior centers and cultural associations focused on older adults. Many offer workshops, lectures, free events, and fun activities. These environments are welcoming by nature and often filled with people who are also looking to reconnect socially. If you enjoy learning, in-person or online classes and workshops can be great starting points. Cooking, photography, computer skills, or even foreign languages attract curious people who are open to new experiences, the perfect setting for conversations to arise naturally. Volunteering is another powerful path. When you dedicate yourself to a cause at a nonprofit, religious institution, or hospital, you're not only helping others, but also meeting generous, compassionate people. The bonds built through shared care tend to be deep and lasting. And yes, even technology can help. There are now apps and platforms designed specifically for older adults that connect people with shared interests, such as Amazon 60+, or Facebook and WhatsApp groups for local activities in specific neighborhoods or cities. But finding people is only half the journey. The other half is the attitude you bring. Start small. A smile, a simple hello, a friendly question that already creates space. Show genuine interest in others. Comment on the activity, give a sincere compliment, or ask if they come there often. It may seem minor, but these small gestures are like seeds. Some sprout the same day, others over time. And remember, the first time might feel awkward. You might not feel like you fit in right away. That's normal. The key is to keep showing up, to return the next week and give it another shot. Real friendships don't usually happen in a single meeting. They're built through repetition, lightness, and consistent presence. Don't look for perfect friendships. Look for real people, just like you. How to cultivate deep and lasting bonds. Meeting someone is the first step, but how do you turn that beginning into something more solid? How do you move from casual conversation to a true friendship, the kind that supports the soul on both good and bad days? The first ingredient is intentional presence, truly being there. In a world of fast interactions and constant distractions, being someone who listens with attention already sets you apart. Pay attention to what the other person says. Ask how they're doing, remember shared details, show that you care. Small gestures create powerful connections. Another essential element is emotional availability. You don't need to share your whole life story right away, but making space to talk about your memories, your dreams, your doubts, helps the other person do the same. Friendship is an exchange, and real exchange requires trust. Trust isn't built through perfection, it's built through shared vulnerability. Reciprocity also sustains long-lasting bonds. Call back, reply to messages, say yes to invitations when you can, or suggest another time if you can't. Consistency is what turns friendliness into connection. Even with different routines, it's possible to keep the relationship alive through small acts, a phone call, a coffee, a quick thinking of you. It's also important to remember that mature friendships move at a different pace. You don't need to be together all the time. Often the deepest connection comes from the freedom to simply be yourself, with room for silence and the occasional absence. What matters is the quality of presence, not the quantity. Another delicate point, learn to navigate differences. Even when there's compatibility, every friendship will involve some disagreement. Over time, you may realize you think differently about certain topics or express affection in different ways. That's okay. Maturing a bond also means learning to respect the other person as they are, without trying to mold them. Finally, a valuable tip. Don't be afraid to extend the invitation. Ask someone out for coffee, suggest a walk, propose going to a local market, a movie, or just having a chat. Taking the initiative is an act of courage and of care. Often the other person is waiting for exactly that, a sign that they're welcome. Cultivating bonds takes effort, but it brings meaning. It's like caring for a plant. It requires attention, time, and patience. But the fruits, the fruits, they arrive when you least expect, in the form of a warm hug, a heartwarming conversation, or a quiet presence that brings comfort. In the next and final chapter, we'll tie everything together with a message of inspiration and a call to action, because forming real connections after 60 isn't just possible, it's urgent, beautiful, and life-changing. Making it this far is, in itself, an act of courage. You've taken precious time to look inward, to acknowledge challenges, and to imagine new possibilities. That alone is a step toward others. And more than that, it's a step toward yourself. Because every true friendship begins the moment we allow ourselves to be seen as we truly are. Maturity has many faces, some painful, others surprisingly bright. And among all of them, there's something that never grows old: our ability to connect, to create, to begin again. Maybe your next friend is closer than you think, sitting 2 seats away at a lecture, waiting at the same bus stop, or visiting the same online group as you. Sometimes all that's missing is a gesture, a word, a simple initiative. Not to force a bond, but to allow it to bloom. Yes, it can be scary. Yes, there may be disappointments, but there can also be encounters that transform, conversations that heal, presences that bring peace, and that's why it's worth the effort. Because after 60, friendship is no longer about quantity, it's about truth. It's not about having a crowd around you, but having someone with whom you can be fully yourself. So here's an invitation. What if today you took one small step, joined an activity, replied to that message you forgot about, smiled at someone with the intention of continuing the conversation? You deserve to be surrounded by people who see you, listen to you, and value you. If this video spoke to you in any way, share it with someone who might also be needing connection or encouragement. And if you'd like to keep receiving content that inspires, strengthens, and supports, subscribe to the channel, because life, even after 60, is still made of encounters, and the next one might be closer than you think.